New website. Who dis? It's Iron Horse. I'm Alex Jonathan Brown, Senior Content Strategist here at Iron Horse. And on this episode of Full Steam, we are talking about the full rebranding process we've just been through. You've probably seen the results of it. We got a new logo. We got a new website. We're sitting down with one of the people who helped make that possible, Jenny Creed, to really talk us through what that process looks like, what our goals were at the beginning, how it went. Spoiler, I think it went pretty well. And what it's like to redesign a website in the age of AI, and what trends we want to pay attention to moving forward. So with all that being said, let's get Jenny in here. Jenny, welcome to Full Steam. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk all things Iron Horse.
I say us, but it's really just me over here. I'm very excited to talk about all things Iron Horse as well, especially that's basically why we have you on today. As I'm sure many people who have been familiar with us for a little bit will be aware, we've undergone a bit of a brand redesign, and you played a pretty significant role in that. So I know it's obviously a huge task from the beginning. That's a little more complicated when it's one of the first things that you sort of do for Iron Horse. So you could just give us the quick version, if there is one, of kind of how that process came about, maybe how you got started at Iron Horse. And yeah, I'll let you run for a bit.
Yeah, the TLDR, basically, even like through my interview process, which was in the fall, one of the things we were talking about a lot was the need to refresh Iron Horse's brand. It was super evident when I went to the website to even research the company during my interviews. I was like, all the people I'm talking to are really smart and really interesting, but this website does not reflect that at all. So basically day one, I was brought into a branding refresh meeting. Thankfully, copy and content had been discussed a lot in the lead up, and there was pretty good direction on the new tone and feel of what we wanted to say and who we are. And I just had to help clear the path for the visual look and feel, which was a journey. Though we did it in 4 months, so like we were fast and furious. But it was a really fun process. Something super hard to do as a new person in the company. Didn't know anyone, didn't know anything about the company, and just having to figure it out as I went.
I think usually when we think about especially internal redesigns and not something that we've like farmed out to someone else or that we've done for a client, there is that idea of like, oh, there's a lot of institutional knowledge that goes into the project. Obviously for us, it sounds like I know we had the basic idea of what we'll say wind up on the website, but coming in and like getting up to speed, I'm sure was a tricky task on its own, made trickier by the fact that at Iron Horse we are nothing if not opinionated folks. And so what was it like being a new person and basically pitching like, hi, I know this might be the first call we've been on. This is what I think the company looks like now.
Yeah. I think, well, first figuring out whose opinions mattered, like who his decision maker was, because like it was just a bunch of faces on a Zoom screen, and I was like, I don't know who anyone is, what their role is, but that also meant that like everyone's opinions like were weighted equally, where I could just like look at the good ideas and pull those, and not like be deferential to, the top of the food chain, if you will. But I think it also helped that I wasn't really familiar with the old brand, so I was starting like fresh on like a clean slate. I was like, I can make this whatever I want. I'm not tied to anything. And there was a lot of like swings and misses early on, preconceived notions of what I thought it should be versus like the people who've been here for a long time, and then navigating those, designers like inherent like design aesthetic and look and feel that they like versus what the brief is, and moving so fast. I think we were churning out mood boards, me and Steven, the other designer, every day. Oh, here, this change, this color. I'm like, okay, like let's throw it all out and try again. I was onboarding, so I guess I didn't have a ton of client work to do at the time. So I had all the hours in the day to learn about the company by doing. And it was definitely some stick handling on the process. There wasn't one, so I had to figure out one to get us to move forward because we had such a tight timeline. So I was like, okay, cool. We're going to meet every day. We're going to throw out more variations. We're just going to kind of design by committee and feedback and see where we end up. And then I think at some point, with all the different voices in the room, I designated two people like, you are the primary decision maker. You can collect feedback from everyone, but I'm only going to listen to what you're saying. And I'll push back on things that are functional, but I'm not going to push back on things that are aesthetic.
It's very much not like a, hey, welcome, here's like a light little project to get your feet wet on. Like, it's obviously a very big deal, and it's bigger, I think, by the timeline that you executed it on. So this was not the longest turnaround. I think it's more on the quick side. Was it 4 months overall? Is that what we're officially saying?
I started January 6th, and we launched it in April. I think it was April.
Which, from like, not even from pre-wireframes to like functional responsive site with like with animation with like stuff happening on it too. It's not like you spun up a WordPress template and we're like, yeah, it's
here's one single landing page.
Exactly. So one of the things that I think is always with marketing agencies or agencies of any kind, like the difference between the way that client work gets approached versus the way that our internal work gets approached. I know a lot of times what it really looks like is, oh yeah, clients are going to pay us, so we're going to do their stuff first, and then we'll get to our stuff when we have time.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you had the chance to not do that a little bit because you were just getting up to speed. But are there things that like you saw during that process that you started or we've started to like pull forward into our client work? Like, did we learn some lessons there that we're applying in other places? Or is it just, oh, I have a time to do a project where I can always slack all of my stakeholders because I know they work here and they're not going to be mad about it?
Yeah, I think it was sort of both. One thing was to like we're doing a lot of like do as I say, not as I do, where we tell our clients to do things one way, and we were like, why do we even need that process? It's too slow. And then we're like, wait, no, there's a reason. Other we're going to burn hours and backtrack and whatnot. And I think, Iron Horse was just building out our studio capacity, or has been building out our studio capacity. So web design process for big pages or big projects was something that we hadn't really formalized. And I think, my experience coming from previous roles, I did a lot of big web projects. So like taking that knowledge and building out a process, as boring as process is, it actually enables you to like get to your goal. Like we had a lot of ideas about what we wanted to do, but like how do we get there? So road mapping, content, wireframes, design, dev, follow those 4 steps and you will hopefully get a product at the end that you want. And so we were sort of going in circles a little bit. So trying to navigate the project management and the process was big. And I've learned in the 6 months about Iron Horse culture is definitely like innovate big, move fast, and figure out the details on the way. And that was definitely evident in the website project. But, great things can come out of that chaos a little bit too.
I think it's actually something that it is, again, I'm not on the design side, but I think I can say our process is less chaotic now than it has been because of the like kind of capital P process that's a little more in place now, where we've gone from, I would say, tending to start projects really like super hyper focused on the client's needs and client's expectations, and then from there building the process that we think is going to accomplish that, versus saying, I think what we do a little bit more of now, which is we have this process that we know works and we're going to use that lens to hyper focus on what the client needs, and like rather than building the process from scratch, say this is proven effective, let's use it to get to client goals. having said that, we were the client on this one, and I think one of the big goals, I don't know if anyone explicitly said this during the process, was just like, what if we have a website that looks pretty cool and like it is a real website in 2026? And I have been super happy through the whole process with where we kind of wound up. But I wonder if you could explain a little bit about what the Iron Horse brand is now, basically.
Yeah, and so, we live in an era right now where like things change every freaking minute. Like in 6 months, is a technology or a tool we're using going to be irrelevant? Maybe. Or the way we do anything is going to completely change. So like during this process, we kept that at the forefront. We were looking at, the top design brands out there, other agency competitors, other SaaS companies, and seeing like what is sticking, what's staying. And then, we moved away from gradients and blurs, which was like the trend from a couple years ago whenever we did the last rebrand. Stock imagery, where every website you go to, you see the same top 5 portrait photos or a person looking at a screen or a whiteboard or whatever. And there's the first page of Unsplash or Adobe Stock or whatever it is. So we're like, okay, we're not going to use stock because we want to showcase imagery, which is our work, or we're going to showcase our content, which is who we are and what we're going to do. So how do we make that interesting? We brought in a nice color palette. We brought in organic shapes that move throughout the site. So you have this like journey down the page, and we use big bold text to tell our story because what's important is the content. I'm hoping that it is a little, it's not trendy and that it lasts a couple of years, but I also know that in a couple of years, are we going to be updating sites daily with like AI personalization? Who knows? Like, we don't know what's happening. So we designed for today in the hopes that it would last.
And I think, again, not a designer, but I think it's set up really well to do that for the reasons you talked about. Like it's bold in the places you want it to be bold, and it's minimalist and easy to, from my standpoint, easy to work with in the areas where that's super important too. At Iron Horse, we are very much an AI forward company. We use it in a lot of our processes. And one of the things that would occur quite often with our old brand, which did have some more gradients, it had some more, I would say, obvious design elements, if that makes any sense, is that it turns out AI would not know what it was supposed to do with that in a lot of cases. I know we've had conversations internally about the best ways to like leverage this new brand in an AI workflow. And then on top of that, you've done the incredible work of basically putting together a checklist that says, hey, if you're using AI, these are the areas where it might mess up if you're doing, say, a slide deck. These are things to look forward to. So I wondered if you could dive in a little bit about, generally, I guess, as a designer, like how you feel about AI sort of showing up in some of these processes, the places where it maybe makes it easier on you and makes it frustrating. But then also what it's been like to build a brand, knowing that it's a brand that's very much going to live in that world where suddenly everybody at the company, whether you want to or not, can put together a slide deck that they feel is like designed.
Yeah, the asset creation coming from non-designers is a definite reality. It's great. It speeds up workflow. And so like our goal on the design team is to make sure that those assets are on brand. There's a lot of wiggle room on that. I think, I don't need to be design police. Someone looking at an asset, looking at it for 2 seconds, if it reflects the brand, it's accessible, it has the right logo, it has the right look and feel, it's good enough. Like, we're not going to slow down, marketing or content because the, corner radius isn't the right width on a square, right? So, right. With working with AI, it's all about what not to do. You're designing the skill or writing the skills for Claude, for example, to come up with the slide decks or ads, is telling it what not to do, telling it that, especially for slide decks, accessibility. Like, do not put like a light beige text on white. And once you give it those parameters, it's pretty good. And then I also, had to create a Claude one and then a manual one where our team can actually have a checklist. They print out if they're a little bit more analog, or like read through, like check your logo. Does it look like this? Claude doesn't do well with images. It rewrites the logo every single time. So I think you have to accept a little bit of variance, but again, it's going to be better than people going rogue without slide templates or PowerPoint templates in the heyday where it's just free for all for everyone. At least with AI, alignment is on, font sizes are correct. It follows a hierarchy because you can give it all of the styles and guidance. So I think it's great. I think it's whether you like it or not, it's going to be how we're working for the next little while until whatever's next. So jump on board and figure out how to improve your workflow with it. And I don't think it's taking my job today, but maybe it will in a few months. I mean, it's definitely taken away a lot of the quote unquote grunt work of the creative side, which I love because I can focus on the bigger projects now.
So this is one of the things that came up in a previous conversation we've done on Full Steam. But the idea of really now so many more people being empowered to get to the I want something like this version of it, where maybe in the past that's been a screenshot of somebody else's website or, back of a napkin, little drawing of a concept. As a designer, does it feel different to get those sort of idea versions of things that look a lot closer to where you're gonna wind up than literally, oh, it's black Sharpie on the back of a napkin here, maybe this is an idea?
Yeah, as a designer, I think it's a little bit almost like the black Sharpie on the back of a napkin, because a lot of what it spits out from let's use web design, for example. It's going to spit something out that looks good, but then when you dig deeper, you're like, oh, that doesn't really make a ton of sense. Or it's good from far from good when you get up close. You're like, okay, this is where my human brain is I see your idea. Here's what I'm going to do to interpret that on how we can apply it with our brand or our UX strategy or our functionality that we need. And it happens every day. Even clients hey, this is my content doc. This is the, example flow that Claude tossed out. And I'm like, hey, cool. I wouldn't have thought about this section this way. That's a really good idea for me to input, but I don't think we should do this and this because this is real life, not an HTML quick landing page. But we also don't have to reinvent the wheel. I will take as much of that work that looks good and then focus on the other stuff. And I can free my brain up to come up with better branding or better layout, or here's a really cool functional section that I hadn't thought of before because I had an extra couple hours to work on something because AI built out my design system in Figma and I didn't have to build all the tokens independently. So I think it's good, but I still think sometimes it's still a sketch on the back of a napkin, even though it looks pretty.
I do love that even in this conversation, there's a little bit of hey, Mr. Non-Designer, it's not working quite as well as you think it is, which I really appreciate.
It's so true. It's so funny though. And you don't say I had a team member send me we were doing a promotion for an internal, I don't know, wine and cheese event or something that we were doing at Iron Horse. That was really fun. And I just sent, she's like, is this on brand? I'm like, yeah, but that's not our logo. And so I can see it so clearly because I've stared at that logo all day, every day. But someone else, it says Iron Horse with a dot in the middle. They're like, that's our logo. So, I just think, again, good from far from good. So the human mind, the human person still has to stick handle. And that's where we're the AI forward agency, but we have a team of people who are experts in what they do, who will utilize that tool to its capacity and then further things with their brain.
And that's one of the things, especially where I know the design team brings so much expertise on that side. I like to think the content does the same for the words part of it. But the areas where, especially if you're in this space and seeing, a lot of what AI design looks like or a lot of what AI copy reads like, you start to learn so fast of oh yeah, I know this is probably AI because of X, Y, and Z. And a version of that has always existed for like the longest time on a website that had like 3 icons horizontally across the middle with a paragraph of text underneath it.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, that's probably a Squarespace site, or if not, they're just knocking off like the way that Squarespace tends to look. What do you think that, like, especially again having just done the redesign and the issues that we talked about of like how long does any redesign last in 2026? What are the things that kind of like starting from scratch, are you considering different things about the process and results of design than you were maybe just a couple years ago? Or is it just the specifics have changed, but like the work that we're doing when we think about this stuff is really pretty similar to what it used to be?
Yeah, I think it's changing. I don't think we're there yet. I still think, okay, if you think of your mom and pop shop doing a 1-page website for your coffee shop, whatever, you absolutely can use an AI generated site because your function and your purpose is very straightforward. For, our clients that are large enterprise clients who have different user journeys, different product specialties, etc., where you have to think a lot more about how people are going to interact, where they're going to go, what content you're going to surface. I think the process is still the same. Yes. Can you absolutely iterate faster? Can I have, Claude spit out 3 wireframes with the same content doc about, or like persona journeys and like how best to drive this conversion? Yes. Would that have taken me many more hours manually? For sure. But I still think I have to go through and analyze it and understand what's the best case for us and double check where that data is coming from. Like, is it right? Sometimes you're like, what are you talking about? Like, this is not anywhere near, it's hallucinating, it's doing whatever. But I think we always had to do that. You always had to do your research. We're just sort of changing how we're doing it. And you can tell when people don't take that step.
You absolutely can. It's so, again, not coming from the design side of things. Like, I don't necessarily have that shorthand for like, oh, this feels sloppy because of AI in the way that like you might a little bit more. I mean, do you have any, like, are there flags that you're seeing? So for the writing side, as an example, like we went through the M-apocalypse where everybody fought for 6
the
months.
Emoji apocalypse. Any social post that every sentence has an emoji, I'm like, you just delete them or say no emojis.
It's so easy to just delete them.
Yeah.
But and now we're onto things like paragraph structures or sentence structures where you'll see, it's not this, it's this other thing. And so that pops up. I get the feeling that design going straight from AI to published happens less than it does on content. But are there still like trends that you're seeing and you're a little bit like, well, we weren't all doing this a year ago and now a lot of you are, and is that the robots?
Yeah, I mean, I would say a lot of it is just like it's simplifying down the structure. You're seeing a lot of the same layout because the LLMs are built on like a ton of wireframe modules, right? Like left, right, certain pixels wide, spacing, etc., headline, body, text. So you see a lot of that repetitiveness, but because it's not there yet, it's not as evident. We've every software company out there saying like, we can resize all your banner ads or display ads with AI. And I'm like, yes, you can. If it's a plain background, some text, and a button, yes, you can. If you throw an image or a logo in there, it is a hot mess. And like, I think every month or two we go through the process here of like trying to figure out if it works to do that, because that is one of our big asset outputs. But no, it doesn't. It doesn't do it yet. I will be the first person on that bandwagon if it does do it. But there's something, I don't know if it's just the language that design is done in, that it's not numbers and letters for AI to read, that it can't figure it out. It does better with HTML because it has an unlimited width and size. It struggles with parameters. But yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting. The slop is definitely there. You see it everywhere, or like the ghost hands, or the extra finger or toes or arm positions or whatever that it adds in, or like here's your picture of a house and it's summer outside, but the leaves aren't on the trees, but there's flowers in the front, and you're like,
I feel like the social media illustrations version of this conversation is a whole other one.
yeah,
But listen, it's really nice to see yourself as an action figure. Okay, so one of the problems is that these references, like, that didn't happen that long ago. That was maybe 3 months ago when we all just did that. And now it feels like the most dated reference in the world because all of this stuff keeps changing. And so that kind of brings us back a little bit to a bigger point we might kind of wrap up on. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think one of the effects that we haven't gotten there yet, but we work in the tech space and we all work on screens and our clients are tech. I think we might see a pushback to like touching grass, where we're all just gonna want to like go sit outside, get away from a computer, and I think the design and the web space is gonna reflect that and become a lot more minimalist and organic in nature. I'm calling that as my 2027 trend.
I think there is real space, and we have internal conversations a lot about this on the content side, but there is real space for what I kind of think of as the Etsyification of all of this, of just like, for a writer, like, I'm trying to lean as hard as I can into not just brand voice, but like my voice personally, because that's the thing the robots can't do yet. I think there's a world where we just start telling all of our writers, you can swear all you want, like, because it is AI proof, at least these days, right? To like be an effective adult who's doing swears, the AI can't really figure it out yet. But yeah, I like the touch grass label on that, of just like, there is like, and we can like, as essentially a product of the work that you're doing is you can tell when somebody cared enough about it to do it right, basically. And I feel like that is once again becoming a premium in the way it wasn't, where like to do any of this, you had to, like, the person doing it had to have the knowledge to do it. And now it's becoming Uzair's talked about this too, it's becoming much more about taste than it is knowledge, in a way that I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
Having said all that,
yes,
a couple months ago, you made us a new website.
Yes.
When do you think you're going to have to make us a new one?
Well,
what is the shelf life of a website?
2 to 3 years tops.
Okay.
And I think by the time you're starting in 2 years, you've already been dated for 6 months.
There's also a little bit of the I always get this name wrong, but it's the ancient Greek like ship of Theseus concept, where if you keep rebuilding a ship for long enough that you've replaced all the parts, is it the same ship, and when does it stop being that first ship? And maybe we're doing a little more of that, but we covered a lot of ground. Some of it was the ground that we plan on talking, a lot of it wasn't. I do want to give you the chance. Is there anything else you want to say about this process? Like, we're super glad to have you on board at Iron Horse. I personally love the new branding so much, but yeah, anything else we didn't get to that you want to talk about?
I would just reiterate what you said. I think brands evolve, and so we'll keep updating it as we see fit for our needs and who we are, and keep it growing, because if it's stale, then you're irrelevant. So I think just keep treading water and see if we can stay ahead of all the tech changes and keep our brand growing the way that we're growing the agency.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. I will let you get back to your, what I assume is an incredibly busy Thursday. And hopefully we'll have you get on soon.
Okay, thanks.
So there you go. It's a lot of work that happened very, very quickly. And like I said, we're so happy with how it turned out. If you want to check out the work for yourself, that's easy. It's ironhorse.io. And if you have any questions on how we can help your company, your organization, your brand manage a similar transition, just grab an email from that site, basically, or shoot us a message on LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to get in touch with you. Until next time, I'm Alex Jonathan Brown, hoping you get out there, get discovered, and get chosen.